Hello, this is a Kawai GS 30 grand piano. That's 6 foot 1 inches long, 186 centimeters, and it's being assessed in transit. The client's asked for it to come to us to see if we can improve the piano at all before it goes to his house. And just looking at the casework, well, it's got surface scratches you'd expect as the music's been put here, for instance, and on the music desk, and generally throughout the piano, but there's no deep scratching, so it could be removed. We can either spend a short time trying to get as much as we can done in a few hours, or we can do a whole day's work to try and get it really perfect. So obviously that's more costly. You can see the scratches here showing up pretty well on the video, and certainly would be nice to do that while it was here. And the brasses, of course, can be polished, but that's something which you could do yourself, really. But here on the music stand, you can see that there's quite a this has not been the best of materials to wear. I think you can get, it's very unusual for it to wear as badly as this, so obviously that's just the material they tried out and didn't seem to work very well, but it has been played quite a bit, and obviously that's evidence of it. Now, other signs that it's been played quite a bit is that you can see there the fingers have rubbed off the paint on the side there, so we can certainly obviously make that good. And the key tops are not too bad. You can just see the marks of fingers a little bit. The pedals are in good condition and not showing too much signs of wear. They're not noisy at all either. The sostenuto, this is the middle one here, it wasn't working at all. It was disconnected when the piano arrived. Looking inside the top here, it's in very good condition generally. There's no moth in the felt. Surprisingly, you can get moth in modern pianos. It's quite common, so that's obviously something to check. And there's no, the dampers are lifting up, not quite enough actually. I'd like them to lift a bit higher. So over the years, it's just slight adjustment on the pedal there. It's nice if these clear a little bit better than they do. If you're tuning it, sometimes it's difficult to tune one of these 3 strings on the split wedges. So anyway, that needs lifting up slightly more, and it's functioning fine, but it needs to lift a little bit more really. Now the soundboard's in perfect condition and it's quite clean, so I suspect some work's been done on this piano not too long ago. It's certainly been refaced, as we'll see later on. The hammers have been refaced. I'm looking for a tuner's card here. If it's a Japanese import, then you usually have a tuner's card here, and there's no evidence of that, so I suspect it's been sold originally in the UK. There's a lot of second-hand pianos that are imported to the UK from Japan. No problem with that. It's just interesting to see if it was a Japanese import or not. And indeed, it's got a Jake Samuel sticker here, so they were probably the original sellers of the piano. I mentioned that the sostenuto wasn't working, and indeed it was completely disconnected here. I've no idea where that should have been, but it's easy to reconnect. You just have to undo this screw a bit and then take this over the top and connect it. So now it's working properly, and you can see it's lifting this metal bar here, so if you press the note up and press the bar, that holds those notes up. That's what the sostenuto does, and then you can play other notes, and those are sustained all the time. Now the hammers have been refaced at some stage. You can see a sort of fluffiness on the top of them. That indicates they've been refaced. It's possible that could have been when it was new too. They could have been refaced slightly when new, but they weren't very worn. But you can see there's a slightly unevenness at the top in terms of what they look like. If they were not refaced, you'd see 3 very clear lines in the hammers. But the job seems to be pretty well done. Now the hammer blow was about 52 millimeters from the string. It should be a bit less than that. It's got it about 47 here, which is about correct. Don't know Kawai's exact specifications, but we'll go on the touch and what it feels like, obviously. And this is how you adjust that. It's the capstans under here. I've also turned the let-off adjuster here about 1/4 of a turn, just to get about 1 millimeter less closer to the string. So that was a minor adjustment. It doesn't make a huge difference to the touch. So on the assessment sheet, we've got the main work is obviously replacing the music desk felt. Reducing the hammer blow, that does affect the touch quite a reasonable amount. It means it's more sensitive to play, and making good the case. So we can either spend a whole day doing that, which, because it's get out nearly every single scratch, or just a couple of hours and improve it reasonably, so the big scratches hopefully are improved. And polish the brushes, obviously paint the sides of the shots. Those are cosmetic. General regulation is let off. I've got reducing that slightly. The sostenuto I've already repaired. That was not working at all, but that was a simple job, as you could see. So I think it's sold in the UK by Jake Samuel. It has a wooden action. I didn't mention that, but except for the jack. So this is mostly wooden. It's just the jack that's not wooden. That's obviously a harder part to make in wood, and lots of manufacturers use man-made jacks, so man-made material, I mean. So old pianos are obviously all wooden, and this is aluminium, I think, and a rail there. Older pianos are wooden there as well. So there's more man-made materials in modern pianos generally, and Kawai later on, they had lots of parts made of man-made material, most of the action in fact. And the GS30 models I've seen in the UK are from about 1982 to 1986. I'm not quite sure what the range of years for the GS30 is. I'll see if I can find out and put the information on the video. Here we have finally, as always, the touch, and to see how it compares with a new piano, for instance. So 64, new piano will be 55. I think Kawai is slightly heavier originally, 55 I believe. 52 would be something, or 47 to 52 is how we would set them. And I've mentioned this many times, so I won't go on about that. That's the up weight, 24, which is very good actually. So the touch feels good, slightly uneven. Lubrication of the balance rail, I didn't write that on. That should be written on, because lubricating that would help a little bit, although it's not too bad. If you lift the key up, you can see how much the balance rail, this is the balance rail here, and so we lubricate that with talc. I mentioned that many times before, but just lifting them up, you can see they're going straight down. If they really need lubricating, then they wouldn't be going down at all. So I think lubricating is still going to help slightly. As an aside here for technicians, if you leave this rail reasonably high, that's helpful, because we can test very easily then without I've lifted it up here. It doesn't need to be near the keys. This is just in transit to stop the keys from falling out. So that's an assessment in transit of a Kawai GS30, 6 foot 1 inches long. And just to see what sort of work needs doing on it, obviously the music stand, that's an easy one to sort out. Putting a material that doesn't wear like this, hopefully we'll put a good material on there that's going to last the rest of the lifetime of the piano. But you can see it's been played a lot, and it's been the hammers have been refaced. The piano is in generally very good condition. There's just some refinements that we can do, certainly. A lot of pianos that we get in transit, and where people purchase them and want us to refine them, we find there's quite a lot of work to do. We had a very modern Steinway recently, Steinway Model O, that was surprising how much the action could be refined to just make it play more sensitively, really. Just a few notes are a bit brighter than others. So that's something which also we can do. And the regulation of the action, the hammer blow needs to reducing, and that makes it more sensitive too. The touch generally is not too bad, and a little bit of lubrication of the balance rail, and then maybe some fine weighting of the keys afterwards, just to get the piano back into new condition. It's a very enjoyable piano to play, and when it's been refined a bit more, then it'll play even more sensitively. Thank you very much for listening. If you're interested in having a piano assessed in transit, please do write to us, info@robertspianos.com. Thank you very much for listening.